Waze is announcing the rollout of Waze Carpool across the United States. The feature enables Waze users to request rides from other community members, with a goal to ultimately decrease the number of cars on the road. The company has spent the last year or so testing carpool in states like California and Texas. That's now being expanded to all 50 states. We spoke to Waze CEO Noam Bardin and asked about how the company sees itself competing with the likes of Uber and Lyft.
So we don't see ourselves as taking on Uber or Lyft. We're taking on single occupancy vehicles. If you drive alone in your car to work, that's our competition, right? We need to give you a better experience so that you'll be willing to take someone with you or leave your car at home. And that's how we're focusing. Uber and Lyft are part of this. There are many mobility players that are going to be part of a full mobility solution. There's last mile components, there's scooters, there are cars, there are all different kinds of components. We're focusing on the long haul. Going from San Francisco to Mountain View, we will give you a price that's a fraction of any other alternative, and we'll give you an experience that's actually going to be a lot more fun.
How big do you think this business can be?
So that's a great question. We don't know, right? We don't know how big this can be. But if you think about it, there are trillions of dollars at waste in our economy from traffic. And the cost to our environment, the cost to our health, right? It's all coming off this sort of illogical way that we all choose to commute. And so there's going to be tremendous amount of value to be created here. How does that split up between the driver, the rider, partners, and ourselves? That we'll have to see as we roll out the service.
Now, as a user, I'm constantly wondering why Google Maps and Waze are not integrated. Of course, the last time you were on the show was right before the acquisition. I get into Uber and Lyft cars, and the drivers are complaining that the maps aren't integrated. Why hasn't that happened yet?
Well, since the acquisition, Waze has been kept very independent. We are actually continue to run as our own company with our own mission around traffic. And this allows us to do things like carpool, things that are bottom-up and community-based. So it's a different application, a different experience than Google Maps. We obviously share data on the back end. There are a lot of things that we share, but we have very different approaches and very different missions. For us, it's really about removing cars off the road. And 3-4 years from now, when you think about Waze, you're not going to think about Waze as the navigation app. You're going to think about Waze as the way you get to work every day.
So are you saying this will never happen? Is it on the table? Could an integration happen at some point?
Right now, that's not what we are focused on. It's not what the Geo team is focused on. We each have more than enough to do in this new changing mobility space.
So what has the benefit of the Google acquisition been?
So one of the big benefits is that we can approach something like carpool. Carpool is not going to happen overnight. This is going to take many years to change behavior. People have to change their habits, and that takes a long time. These are the kind of things you can do when you're part of Google or Alphabet, which has the resources to make these very long bets. If you were a startup and or a public company worried about your next quarter, if you didn't have the ability to think that far, you could never make such a change. And our change really brings together all different kinds of players. We've got municipalities and employers and universities, a variety of companies working together for this mission, and that's not exactly the traditional corporate environment.
Google is at the center of yet another privacy scandal, the latest one involving Google+. This time, the reporting is that the company did not disclose it, even though they knew about it, and so you have trust in the company being undermined yet again. How do you collect and use data on the users of Waze and protect that data?
So the data within Waze stays within Waze. We're very transparent with the users of what we do about it. But more than that, we ask our users to share additional data with us. Our whole platform is built from users sharing their data. And so with Waze, it's very clear. You use the app, you share the data. You don't have to use the app if you don't want to share the data. But fundamentally, the data that users share is what builds the service for everyone else.
Now, companies like Uber and Lyft do background checks on their drivers. You put the decision really in the driver and passenger's hands here. How do you make sure it's safe, and what happens if there's an accident? Who's liable?
So we've designed the service to not be a commercial service. So in that sense, it's very different than Uber and Lyft. You can't make money on the service. We limit the amount you drive. You can drive twice a day. We limit the amount we will pay out to you under 54 cents a mile, which is the federal per mile cost of owning a vehicle. vehicle. And so the service is designed not to create an accounting profit in terms of taxation, and to be able to work within your existing insurance as a consumer. And that's really the model that we've built, and we go to great lengths to make sure that you can't get out of that an envelope which creates that space. In terms of background checks, we provide the users a lot of information, and we do see it as up to the user to decide who do they want to drive with. We think about safety, but there are a lot of other things as well, like who do you feel comfortable riding with? One of the big features we were asked for is women feeling they want to ride with their own gender, with other women, and co-workers that want to ride only with co-workers. And so we provide all these different things. What we've seen, though, the big challenge is getting people to do their first ride. Once you do your first ride or drive, you suddenly see that fundamentally we're all pretty good people, and you discover your neighbors and your coworkers that you never knew before. And we've had phenomenal stories about people becoming lifelong friends and discovering each other through this experience.
Now, you're also doing work with the public and the private sector to encourage carpooling. Tell us about that.
So fundamentally, carpooling will have to be a joint effort. We're working with municipalities, San Diego, Orange County, all over the U.S., to try and provide incentives and carrots and sticks to users. If you think about HOV lanes, those are basically incentives for you to take another person in your car. If we can find that person in the car for you and you can use the HOV lane, you can save 20 minutes on your way to work. And these are the kinds of incentives that municipalities can do and the Departments of Transportation can provide. We think there's a place for everyone to work together here. Employers are struggling with how to get their employees to work, how to deal with parking. Parking is a huge problem for most employers. And all these different things provide incentives for carpooling. Municipalities and Departments of Transportation have budgets about removing cars off the roads. And so coming together in one platform, as we've done in the past on Waze, is the way we think we can make this change in society and in how we actually drive to work.